This is my 2025 travel tech setup. Whether I'm away from home for a quick business trip or a longer international adventure, this is everything I take with me. And it all fits right inside of this backpack. I've spent the past year refining what actually makes sense for my particular use case, so let's break it down. Starting with the most essential pieces of tech in my life, let's talk about phones. Now, as you can see on the table here, I like having both iOS and Android devices on me, especially when they can serve different use cases. And my daily driver, especially when it comes to my work here on YouTube, is the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Specifically, I got it in this year's hero color, Cosmic Orange, which looks quite sharp in my opinion. Now, I've already made a first impressions video on this guy, so I won't get too deep in the weeds, but apart from the usual solid performance running Apple's flagship hardware for this year, I especially love that this phone doesn't thermal throttle or overheat anymore like previous iPhones, thanks to the vapor chamber cooling in here and its new aluminum frame. It's also worth noting that with this eSIM only model here in the US, the battery life on this is absolutely insane, rated at over 5,000 milliamp hours. Seriously, this can be like a 2-day phone when I'm not absolutely glued to it. And especially when it comes to filming content, features like log video and ProRes recording are especially nice. I use these multiple times a week here in the office to film quick pickup shots, B-roll, vlogs, and the footage looks so cinematic. As is the case whenever I upgrade to a new iPhone, I'm still in my paranoid honeymoon phase like 2 months after launch, so I did pick this up, the tech-woven case in blue from Apple, to contrast with this orange. I also may or may not be gaslighting myself after my favorite YouTuber retweeted me about this. Additionally, one of my favorite accessories that I've been rocking in the past year is this ESR MagSafe Wallet, especially because it has Find My built in. This is perfect for keeping my essential cards and ID readily accessible. The magnet on it is also really strong, so I don't have to worry about it falling off. And there's also the peace of mind that I can track it should I leave it accidentally somewhere. Now, aside from the iPhone, I do like traveling with a secondary device just in case, and that is where the Galaxy Z Fold 7 comes in. Obviously, the main appeal with this thing is that it has flagship specs with a standard phone screen on the front, but then on the inside, it opens up to reveal a full tablet-sized display. On planes or trains, this inner screen is absolutely perfect for watching video, playing mobile games, and not just for travel, but lately I've been getting back into manga because of this thing. I mean, it's just really cool having a tablet that I can just fold up, shove into my pocket, and use wherever I want. I also did make a full video on this guy if you want to see my pros and cons of what it's like to live with on a daily basis, but specifically for travel, I throw my Google Fi SIM in here for international roaming data free of charge. This especially comes in handy if I want to tether to my laptop to upload things like YouTube videos. But more than anything, I especially love just how thin this is, even with the later case Aramid fiber shell on here. For added convenience, I've also stuck on this MagSafe ring on the back so that I can use accessories like this ESR wallet here. That's nice and snug, you even heard it. And it also plays really nice with the Qi charger in my car. Now, when it comes to getting work done, whether it's on the road or even here in the office, my daily driver computer is this, the 14-inch MacBook Pro, specifically with the M4 Max chip. This is the 2024 model with 36 gigs of RAM and a 1 terabyte SSD. This is where I do all of my YouTube work, editing videos, photoshopping, making thumbnails, drafting scripts, and replying to emails, and it handles all of that without breaking a sweat. It's a perfect size for travel, and the battery life is absolutely insane. I've edited entire 4K videos on flights from New York to LA with like 3 hours of battery life to spare. It is wild. Now, as you can see, I also have a case on here, which is from Castify and their Impact series. And aside from some controversies on their end, this is hands down probably the best case that I've ever owned for my MacBook. It uses rubberized edges to latch onto the computer itself, as opposed to plastic, which you see on a lot of other cases, which tend to break. As such, it also offers good shock protection, not that I drop my laptop all that much, but my last 14-inch Pro did ever so slightly have its screen misaligned after 4 years of use and abuse, so this might help just a bit with that. Plus, it is also nice that it is clear to let some stickers and art shine through for personalization. Now, for when I'm at a hotel with a proper desk to work on, the nuphy Air75 V3 is pretty slick. This is a low-profile mechanical keyboard that adds a little extra typing feel compared to the MacBook's built-in keyboard, and it's actually designed to sit on top of the laptop deck without hitting any keys. It also has gasket-mounted switches and an aluminum deck, meaning it feels and sounds premium. Plus, it even has a knob. With that being said, if I'm bringing along a travel keyboard, might as well have a mouse as well. It's nothing too special, but I have this slim Bluetooth mouse from Satechi, which charges via USB-C, but most importantly, lets you switch between 3 connected devices if you find yourself wanting to hop between setups. Alright, now let's talk about gaming on the go. Specifically, I like taking around the Nintendo Switch 2 when I'm on flights, or just to wind down after a full day of activities wherever I'm at. Now, admittedly for this, the game selection is taking a little bit of time to mature, but since I'm still sort of slow burning through the Switch 1 era back titles and have been itching to play some GameCube stuff again, I find myself using this way more than I was expecting to. As mentioned in my full review, in a nutshell, I really like this new design over the last generation. The physically larger screen and Joy-Cons make for a much more comfortable experience, and sure, it's no Steam Deck or Xbox Ally X in terms of raw power, but when it comes to handhelds in general, I find myself gravitating towards the Switch 2 because it's smaller and easier to pack, especially for more casual gaming sessions. Now, in terms of Switch 2 accessories, I have a couple of things with it that help enhance the handheld experience, both when I'm traveling and when I'm at home. And this was all provided by the sponsor of today's video, JS Aux. They have a variety of cool products for the Switch 2 that genuinely fit into the mindset of how I pack for travel. Everything's functional, multi-purpose, and they look great too. Probably my favorite of their lineup is the mod case, which I have installed on my Switch 2 right now. Not only does it give protection for the console, but it also adds a more controller-like grip with an anti-slip texture, making it more confident, inspiring to hold for longer periods of time. It also features a protective hardcover that goes over the entire front of the device, meaning you could slap it on, toss it in your bag, all without needing an extra carrying case. However, the real kicker here, a sort of party trick, is this middle section on the back. Basically, it's a modular attachment system. You can use this to mount external batteries, a MagSafe arm for your phone, plus there's an endless amount of potential here with 3D printed accessories from the community. Beyond that, I also have the brand new JS Aux Obsidian AR screen protector, which not only helps to prevent surface damage to this Switch 2's already fragile LCD screen, but it also utilizes a PVD2 coating that helps keep fingerprints and especially glare down to a minimum without sacrificing screen clarity. It's very similar technology to what's used in flagship smartphones like the Galaxy S25 Ultra, and yeah, if you compare the Obsidian AR on the left to a standard Switch 2 on the right, that glare is cut down a significant amount. These were a few among a plethora of accessories that JS Aux offer for the Switch 2, and if you're curious about any of them, I will leave a link in the description below. Definitely check it out, it helps the channel a ton, and huge thanks again to JS Aux for sponsoring my 2025 tech travel setup. Since I'm hopping between a Mac, iPhone, Android, and a Nintendo Switch 2, a pair of headphones that can transition seamlessly between everything is important, which is why I rely on this, the Sony WH-1000X Mark VI. These actually came out a couple of months ago, and at least according to Sony, they offer the best, most aggressive noise canceling you can get on the market, and I could believe it. On planes, for example, they drown out basically everything from engine noise to even crying babies, and you don't have to crank the volume particularly high. We're talking only like 10 to 15% before you're basically living in your own bubble. Obviously, the 1000Xs have been quite popular among travelers over the years, especially thanks to its warm sound signature. But for the Mark 6 in particular, I do think they sound a touch better. And this is thanks to improved bass tuning and more pronounced trebles, making it sound clearer overall. Plus, something really cool that Sony took away from the Mark V but now have added back in the Mark 6 is a folding design, meaning it is way more compact, and they've even given us this new case with a magnetic latch, pretty cool, but most importantly, you could just toss this in here, though I must admit it is sometimes hard to wrap my head around. Make sure they are nice and securely snug in there, and boom, we are good to go. You could just throw this in your bag and be on your way. These also have insane battery life, lasting me a round trip to and from Tokyo. And of course, this setup also comes with a 3.5mm cable should you want to plug into those in-flight infotainment systems, or any device for that matter that might not have Bluetooth. Now, for lighter weight music listening on the go, I've actually been leaning on my Gen 1 Meta Ray-Bans. These are honestly one of my favorite things that I bought in the past year, since they're good as a normal pair of prescription glasses, but also have a speaker built in with surprisingly full sound that's available at a moment's notice. If you've never used these before, you might be surprised. At like 30 to 40% volume, it's absolutely perfect for background tunes, even on a train. But also, surprisingly, I really like the built-in camera in here. It is super convenient for capturing things like food pics and travel moments without having to pull out my phone, allowing me to stay present in whatever I'm doing with minimal distractions. Of course, as you'd expect, there are some caveats to the experience here. Like, for example, video capture drains the battery a lot. But for photos and music playback, I get about 2 to 4 hours of use, and full charge from dead takes about an hour when you drop it in the case. Something else that's taken a little bit to get used to is the fact that the Meta Ray-Bans are a touch heavy for my liking. So to prevent these from sliding down my face, I've actually added a pair of aftermarket nose grips and a strap, which thankfully both don't hinder charging in the case, and truth be told, they have made the daily experience more comfortable. Also, because I know a lot of you will bring it up in the comments, yes, this is a Meta product, so you will have to have somewhat of a thick skin with regards to privacy, but let's be real here, everything is And so, for the less paranoid out there, I cannot recommend these enough, especially now that the Gen 2s are out with improved battery life. Now, this next item is something that I talked about at length already in my last travel setup video, but it's probably one of my favorite pieces of production gear that I have in my setup. And of course, I'm talking about the DJI OSMO Pocket 3. This camera is genuinely small enough to keep in my bag at all times without worrying about footprint. And as someone that usually runs as a one-man band on the go, it has been a lifesaver, especially thanks to this gimbal. Handheld footage is also smooth, and it also has crazy tracking to keep me in frame, which is one less thing to worry about when I film my A-roll shots. And even better, that the entire storage solution for this is super compact. So I have the standard DJI case here, I just pop it in, and we also have this add-on that sits right on top from a company called RayGeek. With this strap here, I can lock it all in, and we even have a compartment for all of my magnetic lens filters. In addition to this, I've also been using the DJI Mic 3, which is actually the mic you've been hearing throughout this entire video. These mics are great, especially for the natively synced wireless audio to camera, which saves me a ton of time in post-production. They also sound miles better than the last generation Mic 2s and have an even smaller profile. Best of all, the clip on the back is even more robust than before. It's detachable via a magnet, meaning you can not only clamp it to your shirt, but also float it using the same bit. I really like that the case lets me keep the wind filters on these microphones while charging them. You can close the case, it all fits totally fine, and it's honestly one less thing to worry about. Now, the Mic 3 kit does come with 2 microphones and a receiver, and what I like to personally do, especially when I'm using multiple cameras, is that I'll keep one paired to the Pocket 3 and the other paired to the Mic 3's USB-C receiver. So if I decide to use my iPhone or Sony FX3 via USB-C, one microphone will always be binded for that particular use, and then the other will be always ready for the Pocket 3 at a moment's notice. So, what do I use to actually carry all this stuff? Well, it all goes into this LTT Commuter Backpack. This was actually given to me by the Linus team last year at CES, and I've been rocking it for every trip since. It's definitely not the biggest bag in the world at 20 liters, but it basically feels like a black hole. I can fit so much in here. I guess it kind of makes sense since this bag was designed by YouTubers who haul gear everywhere. And I do like that the silhouette and branding on this are pretty understated and simple. It looks good without being overly flashy, and it feels very high quality. Now, even though this backpack does have a ton of pockets and whatnot for organization, I do still rely on a tech pouch to keep all of my support gear in one place should I need to hop it easily from room to room or transfer it to another bag. Inside of here, I have some really cool accessories such as this AVerMedia GAN charging brick. It has 2 USB-Cs that'll charge at up to 100 watts. Plus, this top one in particular will also act as a docking port for either your Switch 2 or your laptop to take advantage of this HDMI out, which all in all makes this a very clean way to connect your devices to a TV, maybe in a hotel room or at home. For additional connectivity on my laptop, I also have this USB-C hub, which even has 2.5 gig Ethernet at the end, and I also have my cables, which are all retractable. I have Cat 6 as well as HDMI 2.1, and again, they just retract so that they don't get all tangled up in my bag. They're super easy to stow. This guy ends up coming in handy often. It's an SSK 2TB SSD stick with USB-C on one end and USB-A on the other. This is a perfect shuttle drive to hop footage between my iPhone and my MacBook, especially for those ProRes files that might be too large for AirDrop. Now, oftentimes I'll actually nest this tech pouch inside of my crossbody bag from ALPAKA. Now, this is a bit of a tight squeeze, but basically what this allows me to do is save space in the backpack when I'm commuting or flying, but once I'm all settled in at my destination and want to go about my day without being bound to all of my gear and the entire LTT Commuter Backpack, I can just take the tech pouch out and now use the ALPAKA to carry my core essentials, including this 25,000 milliamp hour battery bank that charges all of my devices, including my MacBook Pro at max speeds, and also has a total output rating of about 165 watts. It charges up to 4 devices at the same time, but the party trick here is that it has built-in retractable cables to help keep things nice and tidy, including this one that doubles as a lanyard, and it does power in and out. It's super, super cool. This ALPAKA crossbody also has a ton of extra room for other things like my Meta Ray-Bans case, one or both of my phones, and there are a lot of pockets in here to keep things organized. But yeah, that is my 2025 travel tech setup. Let me know what you pack for travel or just for daily life in the comments below. And otherwise, thanks for watching this video on Denki channel.